Hello, friends. It's Monday, and not just any Monday. It is our last marvelous Monday of 2020. Wow, can you believe that? Thank you, Channel One, another run, another rally, and Portland Cocktail Week for having us again. My name is Fanny Chu, and this is Bowie, and I'm bringing in my delicious, marvelicious co-host, Amy Ward.
Thank you, Fanny, and thank you, Bowie. Yes, you are correct. We are in our last Marvelous Monday episode of 2020, but do not be sad, my friends. We have brought back 14 different presenters throughout the last 6 months that you have seen their beautiful faces beforehand, and we're going to check in with them, see how they're doing, see what they're up to, big plans for 2021, anything like that. Our first round of Amazing Humans is going to be Ezra Allen, Eric Bennett, and Keyatta Mincey Parker. So you might remember Ezra from the both Clarifying Cocktails and the Farmers Market Finds episode. And then Eric and Keyatta are both our green thumbs. Eric showed us everything about how to home garden and showed us all of his beautiful productions from the earth. And Keyatta started a garden in Georgia that a lot of different bartenders are coming to hang out at and do some work in and grow things and get their self-care on there. So we're going to bring them in and just check in and see how they're doing. Yeah. Ooh, we got one. We got two. All right. Hi, Eric.
What's up, guys?
Hey, guys.
Hello. All right. And there's Ezra. So we got the whole crew in. So welcome, everybody. Thank you all for coming back for our fabulous final Marvelous Monday episode of 2020. How is everybody doing today?
Pretty good.
Thumbs up.
I can't complain.
Yeah, feeling great.
Awesome. Oh, well, we have so many questions that we can ask you. We'll try to narrow it down a little bit. So we're in December. It's 2020. You all were doing things that revolved around fresh ingredients and producing your own fresh things. Let's go with Keyatta and Eric first. How are your gardens doing?
Woo, okay. So we had to, well, it's the end of the year. I thought I had a second, so I kind of dipped down and
sorry. if that's preferable.
I can vamp for you.
We've shut the garden down for the year. We unearthed everything. All the members had the choice to take things that they wanted to overwinterize, like mainly peppers and stuff like that. And we are kind of aerating the soil, taking everything out, things that were annuals that aren't, people aren't really pressed about. They're going to be put in compost. And then we are laying fresh compost down. Then we're going to cardboard, and then we're going to mulch so it can kind of keep the weeds down until we get really ramped up for March, which is crazy. And we have a whole waiting list of 30 people. So members who don't want to renew, I have a waiting list of 30 people. It's freaking me out.
Are any of them hospitality people as well?
Yeah, they're all hospitality. That's always my focus. Like I would never tell someone, oh no, you can't. But my focus in all of this is for us. There's nothing just for us. They always try to sneak in a server or a bar back or a chef. Nope, this is for bartenders. I'm not going to say you can't do it, but my priority is my squad, and a lot of bartenders all over, so that's it.
That's super cool. And do they all, are any of them experienced, or do they seem like they're all novice people that you're going to have coming in March? Sorry.
What did you say? I didn't hear you.
Sorry. I was asking, are the people on your waiting list, people that are coming in, are they novice gardeners, or do they have any expertise, or are you going to be like ushering a new crew of baby gardeners in?
It's a combination. There's people who have not gardened before. There's people that have the memory with their grandmother or their favorite aunt or whoever who's kind of taught them in. And we just have people that are just curious and want to figure out something different, I think it's a lot of changes that are going to be coming one way or the other. And I think people are just trying to find peace of mind and something that they can control. Because a lot of this was just
Totally understand that. Don't understand that there are many type A's in the hospitality world that would need to have some semblance of control in a very uncontrollable time. That's not strange at all. Awesome. Thank you, Keyatta. Eric, how's your
It's good. Same sort of thing. Yeah, it's winter time, so for my containers, we're sort of shutting things down, or we shut things down to get ready for next year. So obviously weeding and getting those containers sort of back into some sort of shape. For the ones that are going to stay outside, we mulched over them to keep them looking good and ready for when we are ready to plant in spring. I've been testing some seeds inside of varieties that I'm kind of interested in, and seeing just like germination rates and things like that, trying to figure that out. I'm deciding whether or not I'm going to, go full in and build some boxes, and really sort of give it a go. So yeah, we're in that planning stage of anticipating what happens in 2021, and it's an exciting time. So it's been a fun journey. I mean, we had tomatoes until essentially the first week of December, which is a little absurd. So so we're just, I was like, all right, I guess these are just gonna keep growing, and we're just gonna let it do. So
very cool. Did either of you have any surplus where you needed to can or preserve any of the extra growth that came through?
Definitely. It was a good growing season. We had a lot of tomatoes this year, a lot of peppers, but the peppers bloomed really late. So I know I personally made some oils, and which is one of the things on my special thing later. I'll tell you about it later. But definitely did a lot of pesto, which I'm kind of sick of. We had a lot of basil, so it was all in the freezer. But oh God, I mean, I love basil, but I kind of was like, I don't want any more pesto chicken, pesto pasta, pesto this, pesto that. It just, ugh. But it's all in the freezer, so maybe I'll want to do it next year. I don't know. But no, we had a lot. It was shocking, and we had late blooms too into December with our tomatoes, which was like we didn't want to cut, because as long as it's still producing, you don't want to cut it, but sometimes you have to. So.
Cool.
Yeah, definitely made lots of sauce. So lots and lots of sauce.
Sauce is a good thing. Italians are very happy to hear all those things. Awesome. Ezra, how are you doing? I think farmers market season just ended this past weekend, huh? Tell us all about that.
The farmers markets were kind of crazy. It was a really fantastic and interesting learning experience too. And I'm so excited that Kettle One and Marvelous Mondays got a chance to take a journey with me on that. It's been nuts. Always a joke that said I had a black thumb. So I always admire my gardening expertise and friends that had a green thumb. And I got a chance to spend a lot of time with food producers and growers. So it's been really exciting. So farmers market season was interesting this year, I think, personally, because of such a crazy time that we had, and it was an outdoor market. So more people looking for things to do and looking to shop and buy produce actually got a chance to come. So what a blessing it was for those who make food to connect with people that are consuming food without like two intermediaries there, being a marketplace, a grocery store, and a food distributor. It was great for the farmers because they lost like a huge chunk of their revenue, because restaurants have been so just decimated by our, I guess, socially distancing measures that we've taken, to kind of help stop the spread of, this virus. So I think it was really awesome for them, watching them, seeing how they work. And then it's funny you say that it just ended, because two seasonal markets actually went to year-long markets.
Oh.
Now, yay, maybe? I don't know. It's kind of cold. Not cold. It's not that Chicago cold.
Yeah.
But standing out there for 4 or 5 hours, watching people, really think about their life and their livelihood and paying their bills by heads of lettuce. You know what I mean? Like if I sell 325 heads of lettuce at X amount of dollars, I can really, pay for the truck, keep my folks employed and rest. So you're kind of watching that, and I think it's been I think it's kind of been a little bit of amazing for people to understand like what the price of their food is and what that costs. So it's I don't know, it's been a really interesting and fantastic experience, I would say. Um, you know, with the farmers markets, and learned a lot, and I don't know, it's been great.
Good. And if anybody from Under Armour is watching right now, since you are located in Baltimore and Ezra's in Baltimore, you should probably outfit them in warm clothes for their year-long farmers markets. But that's just just an idea, throwing that out there.
That's a fantastic idea, Amy. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Farmers been good to us. We appreciate them. However, we will take some of those nice warm coats I see on Under Armour online.com. Put that out.
And not to say Patagonia, REI, North Face, any of those people, if they want to sponsor you as well, totally open.
Absolutely. You can throw an L being in there too. So.
Yes. Cool. And so have you found, were you able to establish those relationships with the different farmers that you're talking about to be able to continue producing your mixers through them?
Yeah, absolutely. So mentioned before in the pandemic, we pivoted, and it was like, well, you can come to the bar and have an experience. Why don't we bring the home bartending experience to you? So launched a line of product mixers. And we, as kind of my orientation has been always kind of culinary driven, we did a lot of things by using seasonal local ingredients. And so doing that, we're finding ways to work with farmers and to find interesting things. One of the ones we did, we used peony flour. I've never thought of peony outside of an ingredient in tea that I've had, but it adds like this beautiful, bitter, kind of complex middle layer to items. And had I not been at a farmer's market and talked to Joan from One Straw Farms, and like, hey, you ever thought about using peonies? Here's like 4 pounds. See what you come up with. And I was like, oh, okay. And doing it was pretty cool. We did something with Concord grape. I would have never done anything with Concord grape. And Concord grape is pretty amazing. So, yeah, we made a short run on a mixer and called it like the Grape Escape. And it was with, vanilla and Concord grapes. But just things like that, just actually getting my hands on products, tasting through those products, going to the farm, sourcing things, thinking about things, thinking about teams in terms of like blocks and like kind of planning, thinking about next year and growing season. It's been a really dynamic and cool way to kind of come full circle and to incorporate all the things that we love to do.
That's so awesome. Have you guys have you or your community been impacted on your involvement when you guys have been on? Since,
so
being on
Marvelous Mondays has been a great way to kind of share with folks in the community about like, hey, here's some cool things, interesting things, continuing education pieces. Because a lot of times you spend so much time working in the business, getting through the shift, thinking about, whatever it is, that shift or that week or the next cocktail menu or whatever else that we're doing. We don't really get a chance to kind of do any kind of personal development. So Marvelous Mondays has been like super dope on connecting folks from around the country, really have just different perspectives and different skills and expertise, and kind of getting a chance to learn something new. I wish I really had more time to watch like every single Marvelous Monday episode, and to, every time I go on, I'm always like, oh, that's pretty cool, and I'm learning something new, or a different perspective on how to do things. So yeah, Marvelous Monday's been like a pretty integral part, I think, of this pivot.
How about you, Eric?
Yeah, no, I agree. It's the actual platform has been really great, just to sort of see what other people are doing and fund the ideas of what you can be doing right now, especially in this time when things are a little bit up in the air. But especially for me, I've obviously been contacted a lot about, container guarding and people saying, well, I mean, is this really something that I can do? So it's been nice connecting with people, both in my city and you know, a little further out from that, and saying like, yeah, you've got like, you know, 2 square feet of space. You can grow something if you really want to do it. Let's go to work. We can figure this out. And so that's been a really sort of fun and interesting divergent thing that that's kind of given me life over this bit of love and life in the time of quarantine. So and and as Ezra said, it's been great to watch, you know, a lot of these other Marvelous Monday casts, and really seeing what people are doing, and like even getting inspiration from like Keyatta. Like again, she's doing on the level of like, okay, that's like way up here for me. So like, okay, that's like, how do we get there? How do we make those steps? And so seeing your peers doing really dope stuff is really fun. So
Yeah. And Keyatta?
I definitely have received I feel like I got a whole new gang of fans almost because of it, which was so great. And one thing I really, really appreciate is that it gave us something to do outside of just watching Netflix and all these other things as well. It made us feel valued because somebody was interested in us and hearing what we had to say and what we're going through and what we're still trying to do. And it makes you feel like you're not in this by yourself, especially our industry. I mean, we're tough, but this is bad. Like, it sucks. And for someone to invest the time and you're like, hey, I'm putting this together. I want to hear what you think. I want to hear what you're doing. This could inspire others. Just the sheer interest of that was overwhelming enough for me, and it was great. And of course, I got to see people who I enjoy and I love, and it feels good when somebody cares about you. Is what I'm gonna say, because it makes me feel like someone cares about us, to invest the time and the resources to care, and that speaks volumes. Because I feel like right now everybody's just, I gotta stay safe. I have to put this mask on. I can't. And nobody's saying we and us. So I've found that the interest in helping us is more valuable than anything, I think.
And getting
I kind of rambled, so hopefully I didn't take it too far.
Oh, you're perfect.
Awesome. I do be rambling.
You all are so perfect. I wanted to mention really quickly, Ezra had mentioned, because he's got an insane schedule, because he's also bartending in addition to trying to run the business and do farmers market, and I'm sure you all are doing the same thing. If you haven't had an opportunity to catch all of the episodes, they are archived, and Leo's going to pop those links down there too. You can check out any of the marvelous humans that are right here. Their episodes will be up there. Everybody else we're talking to today, they're on Facebook, they're on YouTube, and you know, we've got them all there, so you never have to worry about being able to watch it in the moment. As I am closely able to talk to somebody who checks out the insights, most people get to watch these after the fact, and that's really important because we all have very different schedules too. So, and we've got a couple minutes before we bring on our next guest. So not only was this particular group assembled because they're amazing people who have been doing a lot of stuff with like live, beautiful gardening things at farmers markets, they also happen to be making a magical drink for us. They're very good at making marvelous bloodies. So didn't know if anybody wanted to, like, go through and talk a little bit about their drinks that they made and how awesome they are and how, how they came to be.
Well, that also includes you too, Abby.
Well, it's fine. It's not about me.
Hey.
So I want to hear about
Amy's
that.
being a little modest right now. I've worked with Amie before, so we'll if Amy's blushing, we'll let Amie go last. But I personally want to hear from the two that have been like growing everything that they've made. So could one of y'all just like kind of talk a little bit about,
Sure. Let's have Eric talk about his first, and then we'll go to Keyatta.
Yeah.
Okay. So for me, this year was all about tomatoes for the most part. So it was growing multiple varietals of tomato, really technically just 4, but multiple plants of each, and Like I said, harvest went until December, so I made lots of sauce. I made lots of Bloody Mary mix. I made lots of anything that we could put these tomatoes in. We were really trying to focus on that. And as Keyatta said, a great pairing with tomatoes is basil, sort of traditional. It's both in the garden and on the plate, and in this case, in the glass. And so I also grew a ton of basil. And so besides pesto and all of that, there's still a bunch in like our kitchen right now that I guess we'll have until the spring, because there are a lot of those plants. My neighbor was like, is that a greenhouse inside of your house? I was like, no, it's just a lot of basil. Just a lot of basil. Yeah. But yeah, so I think for me, when it comes to Bloody Marys, I think especially taking things that you bring from the garden. So for me, in this case, really showcasing the basil varieties, really showcasing the tomato varieties that I grew. But also, Bloody Marys are open to interpretation. They're for you. So like, especially the spices that you use, whether you're able to grow those herbs and harvest those seeds for those spices, it's just possible in some cases. My anise is just now, or my anise is just now blooming, which is like, okay, here we go. That sort of thing. But and of course with peppers, I like a little spicy kick in mine. So sort of that combination of fresh tomatoes and basil and a little bit of fresh pepper, whether that's the tiniest bit of Carolina Reaper or an actual tomato that is worth all the flavor, and that or pepper that's worth all the flavor. That's what my Bloody Mary was really about, just sort of taking what you can grow in the space that you have and then putting it all together. So
it's got to be a beautiful thing to be able to drink your creations, like things that you birthed with your own hands, right there too. Keyatta, tell us all about yours.
Man, I'm kind of like my wonder twin over here. Like I focused on pretty much what was there and what was around me. So we had a lot of tomatoes, definitely had a lot of peppers. So my Bloody Mary was a spicy girl. So kind of blew the top off a little bit, but I'm African, so I can handle it. It was cool. But I definitely focused a lot more on everything that was there. So we started growing baby celery towards the end of the year, and it actually blossomed really nicely. So I used that. We had some Swiss chards, so I used that, but I used a lot more tomatoes. So I almost made kind of like a V8. So I used all the veggies that were there, and then tomatoes were the focus. I can't stress this enough though, and I've seen this before. I'm sure you all have had some too. If y'all don't put salt in y'all Bloody Marys, I swear for Lord.
Thank you.
Do not forget the salt.
Oh, word.
Yep.
You ever hand me an unseasoned Bloody Mary? I swear we gonna slap fight. Don't do me like that, please. Please. But I love it. It turned out really great. And then the finishing touch is what I put on there. I made an actual infused oil. So I took most of the herbs and stuff we're growing and most of the peppers, and I kind of mixed them up a little bit. I sauteed it a little bit and flipped them and just let it sit and just let all that flavor take in. And that was kind of the final drops on my Mary. Once I put the little baby celery in there, a little slice of tomato, because we used different varieties of what we had. But just a few drizzles of that oil, and I think that's what took me over the top for that little spice kick. But I was still pleased with it. I enjoyed it. It was delicious. I had to scale it back from my hubby though, because he looked at me like I was trying to kill him. I already watched too much ID as it is, so I'm a little nervous.
That is incredible. And then Ezra, tell us about your Bloody.
Yeah. So I took a similar but a little dissimilar kind of perspective on that, since I didn't actually grow anything that I put in my Bloody Mary, and I sourced everything. I try to be a little bit thoughtful in how we source and make a Bloody Mary, and also kind of like deconstruct like what makes a Bloody Mary good, right? So we know the tomatoes actually, being the essential part of a Bloody Mary. But like, how do we get those tomatoes? What tomatoes do we get? So from our farmer friends, we grabbed a bunch of farmer seconds, and really just look for like, what was ugly, what didn't work, what was super flavorful. So whether they were hothouse tomatoes, or whether they were heirloom tomatoes, or if they were just, regular whatever Bruce tomatoes. I kind of took that in, and then I broke it into two pieces. We said we're going to do a wet mix, and we're going to do that, and we're going to add our tomato juice as we get it. So for the wet mix, I really kind of looked, throughout the cabinet, say, what did I have in there? And grabbed everything from celery seed to fennel, red pepper flakes. I mean, I like a little coffee and everything, so I added some coffee grounds too. I think everyone has like a local seasoning. So whether you're from Louisiana, whether you're from the Middle Atlantic region and you're into Old Bay, whether you're from the motherland, I mean, like everyone's has a region.
Oh, babe!
Yeah, so it's just add some of that local seasoning to it. Everyone has a local hot sauce maker, unless you're, unless you got that fire yourself that you're making and growing. Grab a little bit of hot sauce, and we just added a bunch of different elements. I started to make my own Worcestershire, but then that was a whole lot of time and energy. And I was like, cool. Worcestershire. Everyone has Worcestershire, probably sitting in their refrigerator that they haven't used in forever. So I was like, so why be wasteful? Why don't we just find what we have? And then from there, you need a middle layer, some kind of like heating element, whether it's horseradish or wasabi or whatever else it is. And who doesn't have like half a jar of pickles in their fridge, right? Like I know someone's got a jar of Vlasic or whatever. So for acid, you could use lemon juice or you could use pickle juice.
Love that.
So my approach on that was kind of like finding what you had. Don't be wasteful. If they were made tomatoes or canned tomatoes or farm fresh tomatoes, use that, split them in, do your wet mix separate, add the tomatoes afterwards. Don't be wasteful. And, add your favorite vodka of choice. And here you have a marvelous marriage.
Love that. Love that.
And then we've got Amy's bloody Mary.
Yeah.
Let's hear about it, Amy.
So I went with I'm like a one-trick pony when it comes to my bloodies. I do the yellow tomato water bloody. I love Bloody Marys, but I find them like I want to drink more than one, and I think a generally well-done Bloody Mary is one that I can only have one of. So I decided I was going to try to make one that you could have multiples of, and it can be done, with or without your favorite vodka, which is Ketel One. I also like doing yellow tomatoes because I find them to be a little less acidic. They're a little bit easier on the stomach if you happen to be a person that has any kind of any issues, whatever it might be. And because this original drink got birthed about 3 years ago when we were doing Camp Run Amok and the pool party with Ketel One, I wanted to make sure that everybody could have it. So instead of using Worcestershire, which is usually my go-to, like Ezra had talked about, maybe it's an East Coast thing, I use coconut aminos. And then instead of going super, in an effort to reduce waste, instead of using lemon, I use rice wine vinegar to give it that acidic kick. Sometimes I'll use a little bit of lemon stock in there to give some additional boost. Also, there's always plenty of salt, so Keyatta will be very happy because I salt my tomatoes before I get them, all the water out and try to go from there. So yellow tomato. I'm sure that will not be the last time you hear me talk about this drink, so we can move on from that. But yeah, yellow tomato water. A little bit less acidic and a little bit thinner, so you can potentially have more than one if you're into that kind of thing.
We are. We definitely are. Thank you. We appreciate you doing that for us.
Grab me some yellow tomatoes next year, and I will fly to see whomever and make them there. Promise, got you covered.
Okay. All right. So
I was about to say.
Yellow boys, heard, done.
Heard. Yes. Already in the works. Let's do it.
We got a whole place to party in. We got a whole garden. We should have a whole party in the garden.
I like it. Yeah, so much. Marvelous Mondays, Ketel One, perhaps coming to you from Georgia next year. Let's make that happen. I love that. All right. Friends, I don't want you to go anywhere, but we have 3 more amazing humans that we have to bring on. Ezra, Eric, Keyatta, thank you so much for being here with us again. We love seeing your faces. Happy
Happy holidays.
Yes, thank
Merry
you.
Christmas, guys. Happy holidays.
Same to you.
Same to you.
All right. So next up, Next up, we have someone you're probably very familiar with because we just had him on last week. José Camacho, Mary Palac, and Cari Hah. Hello.
What's up, guys?
Woo-hoo!
Hey. And if you remember from last week, José was talking about, José and Akinde were on both talking about Sunday supper and Sunday service. Cari talked to us about to-go packaging and programming for your cocktails. And Mary ended up doing a show all by herself because we had technical difficulties and it was on the Marvelous Mule at that time. So hello, everyone, and welcome back. Yay. How's everybody doing?
Amazing. It's hard to follow that act of like amazing gardeners because I have like not a green thumb, and I was just like super jealous the whole time. Like, oh my god, they grow things, they make things live. How do you do that?
It's a magical thing that they do, and we're fortunate to have people that can do that. So us who are not green thumb experts can focus our attention on other things.
Well, I think it's amazing how, like when I hear a lot of the people talking on Marvelous Mondays about how people have been using their time, away from the job and like setting up a community garden. I'm like, oh, snap. I like did 10 push-ups today and I feel productive. But
that is productive. That's very good.
I'm really like, whoa, put to shame and inspired at the same time. So It's pretty awesome.
Awesome. Well, José, I know you were just here with us last week, but Cari and Mary, Marvelous Mary, love that. What have you both been doing since that time, aside from working on your gun show and doing push-ups? What have you been doing, keeping yourself active, and what has happened with your programs, work-wise, since that time?
I'm not working on my gun show, but I applaud you, Cari, very much. I changed my name to Marvelous Mary in honor of the last panel. Also,
Nice.
I've always loved getting the emails about Marvelous Monday. Anytime there was a Marvelous Mary episode, I'm like, oh, that's so nice. it's so nice. But it's been actually a really amazing time. I went back to school.
Really?
So amazing. The bar is kind of in like halfway hibernation mode right now, given everything that's going on in California. Cari, I know you feel me, but we're running a whiskey shop right now out of the bar, which is like super low maintenance and awesome. And we get to kind of geek out on some of our collection that we've had hidden for some time. So that's been really cool. But other than that, just like I'm become a great student, and that's been awesome this semester too.
I was let go from my bar because they couldn't afford to keep a bar manager on anymore. But at the moment, they're shut down anyways. California has been so up and down and like in and out. It's really hard to kind of keep up with the latest regulations, especially LA. Apparently, we're like the most cases of, COVID, and there's no beds left in the ICUs in Southern California, and it's pretty bad. So, I know I'm not the only one in this position. So, I can't complain. And I'm very lucky that I'm better off than most because I, have means to like live still.
Mm-hmm.
But basically, yeah, like during this time, I've never had time off. In the 5 years that I was at my last bar, I never took a vacation, never went anywhere, never took time off. So this has been really weird for me, actually. It's been like kind of a personal, I guess, like getting to know myself because I didn't have anything outside of work before, which I was totally like happy with. That was my whole identity, I placed my whole identity in my work. And therefore, like when it was like stripped away from me, I was like, oh, wow, what am I without my work? Who am I without my work? So it's been really like a self-discovery like period of time, which has been hard and amazing at the same time. Like I don't like the term like self-care because in my mind, as maybe it's my Asian thing, but it feels very like self-indulgent or selfish or something. But really having this time, like forced time off to like figure out like, all right, what am I actually like passionate about? What am I doing in my life? Like trying to take care of my health, all of that, like all these things that I never really took time to do. It's, I have the time now, so kind of trying to do that. But I took up playing the violin again. I used to play, and I hadn't picked it up in like 20 years. So that's like my pandemic project. That and like, of course, Inspired greatly by Amie, actually, is, like working out and stuff. So
Come to the dark side. We have cookies. That's awesome. I mean, and you're making space for yourself, which is something that, the way you're describing it, none of us have ever had this kind of time before. So when I go like this, I'm like, what do I do with my hands? So we're all very, very confused as to what we're doing with ourselves. But simply making space for yourself to feel, sit, think, and process is more than a lot of people are able to bring themselves to do right now. So that is incredible that you have been able to work on that. Also the violin, geez Louise, like,
it's hard. But it's so amazing what your body remembers. Because I don't remember actually technically reading notes on the page, but then when I pick up my violin, somehow my fingers know. Yeah. They connect with my eyeballs, and somehow I'm reading the music and playing the music. I'm like, what am I playing right now? I don't even know.
Yeah, muscle memory is not just for sports. It's for anything that you can do that has a tactile connection to it. It's the brain we know barely anything about. We just know that it's amazing and does incredible things.
Well, I hope so, because when I return to bartending, I hope I haven't forgotten how. I'm really nervous about that.
You'll be fine. You just have to work and get your calluses back up.
That's all of us in this.
Jose, how have you been? It's been a whole week. We've missed you dearly. What's been going on?
Great. It's got cold some days. It's hot some days. It's the South. You never know what you're gonna get. You wake up, you can wear a sweater to work, and then you're like, oh, it's hot outside, and then it's cold again when you leave.
You haven't had much downtime for anything as of late. Do you have plans to make some downtime for yourself?
I hope so. Yes. Okay. The goal is to first, do what I'm doing, but I do need to take some time where it's just me. Usually around this time, I take a trip by myself to a state and I fly in. Like last year, I flew into Boston and drove to Portland, Maine.
Oh, nice.
And just explored for a week. And that was just my time to just, I guess, find myself, because you get so caught up in work on a regular basis. Mm-hmm. And like you're saying, you don't have time to think for yourself. And for the most part, I turn off my phone. I try to stay off social media. And so hopefully in the next couple of months, I can go and do that, whether it's just driving around my state, going camping or something. So that is the goal.
That sounds amazing. And if I recall correctly, you've got a puppy child that probably would enjoy some time with their puppy dad.
Yeah, they're
on the beaten path too.
It's really weird because they're at the beginning of the pandemic, they were so excited and kind of and then I think I overstayed my stay at the house, and then they were like, okay, get out. And then I started working a lot more. My days would be longer, and so now they're getting, it's almost like they're becoming puppies again because they're destroying everything. They're getting super anxious, and I'm just like, oh my God, I can't.
We already went through this.
Yes. So that's been fun. It's another challenge, another hurdle.
They do love to do little things to show you that they're mad at you, or they're really happy with you,
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. I showed up, I came in from work the other day, and one of my feather pillows was everywhere, just everywhere. And I was like, what did y'all do? And they're both just frozen.
Well, you left it alone for 10 minutes. So what did you expect?
Yeah.
I do remember coming home from boxing a few years ago when Bowie was maybe 4 months old. And all of my hand wraps were all over the place, like toilet paper. When you TP someone's house, my hand wraps all over my living room floor. It was crazy. So we have this group of elite talent that has made incredible, marvelous mules. Let's hear about them. Let's start with Cari.
Okay. Well, I was thinking, it was so funny because I was thinking back to when the kind of craft cocktail movement started in LA. And, these sort of mules, Moscow Mule was such a revelation drink, at the bar that I worked at. you know, people would come in and order a Moscow Mule, and it was like the most amazing thing they've ever had. And now it's like one of those drinks that we almost kind of just like write off as like such a simple drink, you know, when before it was really just like this novelty of, you know, deliciousness. And I think mules are one of those drinks that are like amazing. You can rip them 100,000 ways. So mine, I was thinking about the holiday season and around the holidays, especially this year because it's pandemic and nobody feels like particularly like festive. I really wanted to make a drink that felt kind of like appropriate for the holidays and looked appropriate for the holidays as well. And I came up with this drink that I call the Spice Road Mule. And it's with amazing Kettle One vodka, fresh lime juice, and then this pomegranate spice syrup, which I made. And the pomegranate syrup is spiced with saffron, cinnamon, cardamom, black peppercorn, star anise, and clove. So it makes it really like those holiday intense kind of spicy flavors, but with the refreshing like acidity of the pomegranate along with the lime. And then I sourced this very local ginger beer, which is like it's called True Roots Ginger Beer, and I think they deliver online through Amazon, but their ginger beer is so spicy and like gingery, which I really like. When I have ginger beer, I want ginger beer. I don't want like, you know, like club ginger ale where we would mix together like a little bit of cola with some Sprite and call it a day, you know. I want like real gingery, spicy kick. And that, along with those warm winter spices, just create this really beautiful, like refreshing and yet seasonally appropriate without being a hot drink, you know. And then that hit of mint on top is just for the aroma, which kind of goes along with those Middle Eastern flavors.
Yeah.
And I think it's a really quaffable drink. And I really like a rim on a drink. So that rim has this like sumac sugar, and sumac is like a citrusy like berry that you dry and grind up, and then it mixed with the sugar. It's like a little bit like acidic and sweet, along with the spicy and all the spice. So, yeah.
Yum. That looks delicious.
Into that. All right. Mary, you want to go next?
Yeah, that Carrie's looked so amazing. I was like, that sounds amazing. Being from like San Jose, and I know you feel me, Amy, being from like secondary markets and stuff, I'm like very about hometowns. But I grew up, San Jose is actually a pretty big city, but I grew up in a very small city called Watsonville. And the only thing they're famous for is strawberries. They're the strawberry capital of the world, or berry capital of the world in general, and also Martinelli's apple cider. So I used some fresh ginger and made a homemade ginger syrup from local honey. Something that's awesome about living in California is our farmers markets are year round. Yeah. So we can find local produce year round, and it's always amazing. But I got the honey from a place called Honey Girls. And they're amazing because they also do like bee removal service for the area. And I blended that with some fresh ginger, and I had found like really amazing like plump blueberries super late in the season. But this is like a really adaptable drink that I think any like dark berry works really nicely. And instead of club soda, I topped it with sparkling Martinelli's apple cider, which is like particularly for this season. It's so like it's that like bubbly, refreshing. It's what I used to drink on New Year's Eve when my parents would have like boozy drinks, like like
all good, yeah.
So that was like really awesome. And I mean, just like like Carrie said, it was hard to make. Like I wanted to make this drink like which is normally like really summery and springtimey and refreshing. How do I translate that into like kind of like this season's flavors and apple? And it was one of those ways that it just popped, and it's really yummy. And I couldn't stop drinking it when
I want to try that. That looks
Me
really
too.
good.
Apple and ginger, yum. Sign me up.
Can't go wrong with that.
Nope. How about you, Jose? Tell us about your mule.
My mule. So I wanted to challenge myself. I'd never played persimmons, and I was walking into work a brunch shift at my restaurant. And if you guys watched our last episode I was in, when we talked about how we brought a small local farmers market to essentially our front porch at the restaurant, and I was like, oh, this is cool. I've seen them. I've never had them, and so it's like they had Meyer lemons and persimmons, and I was like, and chef had just put a persimmon and snapper crudo on the menu, and I was like, okay, this is a sign. Let's try to put this in a cocktail. And so I did a little research. It's a very small peak for persimmons, as in when they're ripe, like they're going to grow, but then you just like it's got to be the perfect time. Well, so I made a syrup with persimmons, allspice, and some black peppercorn, and then use some Meyer lemon. I wanted to get like those floral notes from that, and then use a spicy ginger beer, use some Fever Tree, and of course Ketel One. But the whole inspiration was the farmers market and that we have every Saturday. They'll be taking a break for about 3 weeks, but it was fun to try something different, a little bit outside of my comfort zone.
Jose, if you don't mind me asking, which variety of persimmon did you use in your syrup? The hachia or the fuyu?
Like the squat with a heart shape.
Not the heart shape, the squat one. Yeah, because we don't. From what I've seen in our market, we don't really, unless you're going to Whole Foods, you're not getting the heart shaped ones. You're getting the squashier ones, and that was interesting to see too. Like in the research of flavor profile and what. So one's used for like relish, and one's used for you can use it. They're sweeter. So it's fun.
I literally bought persimmon at the farmer's market like a few days ago. That's amazing. I love persimmon. That sounds.
So ours is done. Like I went back to that same little stand, and it's like, okay, they don't have them anymore. I was like, all right, cool.
They're very common in like Asian markets.
Mm-hmm.
We'll always have it in Asian markets. So if you're ever looking for an Asian market,
you can. I also because I like to bake with them. Is I'll puree them and I will save them. I'll freeze them. I'll freeze them puree.
Yeah,
so I can use it later.
I'll do that next year because I'm so lucky. My parents in their backyard have a
tree.
Jealous.
They have like both kinds, like the heart ones and the other ones. So I just get to eat them like throughout the season, and it's just like bags of persimmons. But I'm gonna take your tip next year because we waste so many of them. We can't possibly eat them all, So I'm just gonna puree and freeze it.
Yum. All right, let's go on to Amy's. Mule tides.
Yeah, mule tides. So mine is the old switcheroo mule. I did a switchel recipe. Switchel's kind of made the same way that you would a shrub, but it's more in line with being a ginger beer. So Ketel One vodka, I did a cranberry apple switchel and made that with local honey that I found at the last farmer's market that was open in Logan Square in Chicago. Before that shut down, fresh ginger. I used the Celestial Seasons cran apple zinger tea, and then some white balsamic vinegar for that as well to make the switchel. And then top with soda water, kind of go from there. So I wanted to just, again, like Cari said, you can do a mule a million different ways, and that's what's really fun about it. I also really, really, really like ginger, so I want that like smack in the face of spice and I'm the person that will eat the ginger if you order any proper like sushi or something like that. So yeah, super easy, I like playing with teas as well as like, if anything that the last 6 months of these classes have taught me, it's playing with tea instead of just plain old water can really change and up your game just a hint to bring something together. So that's why I messed with that cranberry apple tea to go with it too.
Yeah.
And that's fun because if you live in a place where you don't get fresh produce all year round, it's a way to like infuse that flavor without having to have it. Like Mary, you and I are so lucky we're in California, and I totally take that for granted all of the time. I'm like, oh yeah, just put some strawberries and da-da-da-da. And then I get a note back, oh, but these aren't available all year round. And I was like, what? They're not? I get them. How come you?
Yeah, and it's definitely different. Like I've only been in Chicago for a short amount of time, so I know everybody in Baltimore, and I know where to get something, especially if like somebody has taken a surplus of something and frozen it for the time. I could have gone to a million different places there, so just trying to like navigate my way around in the strange city that I'm in.
Yeah, I'm from SoCal, and I moved to New York like 9 years ago, and I was just like, I can't get the same kind of like quality fruits as I did veggies back in Cali, and I'm just like, wow, I really didn't take advantage of it when I was living there. And and I'm paying like $3 for an avocado, where I can get an avocado for like 50 cents. It's nice, right? You don't have to wait like 15 days for it to like, oh yeah. Stop bragging, you guys. Stop bragging.
One of these days, I'll make it out to your side of the world over there on the West Coast. Enjoy.
Amy and I can do
Bloody Mary.
Marvelous Monday. Yes.
We're just planning our Marvelous Mondays tour for 2021.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
All right. Mary, Cari, and José, thank you so much for being with us here today. We're getting ready to bring out the next group of people. We really appreciate you being here. Have a wonderful week, holiday if you're celebrating it, and a great New Year's as well.
Happy
Likewise.
holidays. Love you guys. Everybody take care.
Okay. Next up. All right. So, Fanny, you ready for the next group?
We sure are. We're going to bring on Akinde, Amanda, and Beau.
Yay.
And you might remember them, or you should remember them. Akinde was just with us last Sunday because he was talking about Sunday suppers. And Amanda, a few months back, taught us about brewing coffee, and then Beau as well with his bee knowledge. So we'll bring them all in. Hello, friends.
Hello.
How's it going?
Pretty good. How y'all doing?
So great.
I know we just had you this past week. How have you been since then?
I've been pretty good. Staying busy.
Good.
Working. As much as possible.
Yeah. And Amanda?
Doing all right. Yeah, same. Just finished my semester in school, like Mary. I started going back to school before lockdown, but just enjoying my time off.
What are you studying in school, or just like?
I'm studying history. I'm actually doing a lot of. My school doesn't really let us specialize that much, but I've been kind of shoehorning a lot of service industry and beverage stuff into my historical studies. So it's been really fun.
Nice.
Tying it into your work.
It's called an ethnography. You're living in the moment of the research, so it's perfect. That's awesome.
And Beau, how have you been? How are the bees?
I've been good. The bees are good. I've had a chance to catch up with Samantha a few times and chat with her about the bees, so that's been rad. And I am also on the just finished up the semester train, so enjoying the first day off.
What did you do?
It's nerdy, but it's kind of at the intersection of tech and statistics and business analytics.
You already own and run a bunch of bars. Did you need to get the additional knowledge on there? Or are you just trying to
We've been closed since March, so I was just bored.
Gotcha.
Was just going a little stir crazy around the house, and my dogs were also getting tired of me.
Oh, they're so precious. Have you all? So you've been closed since March. Have you all been able to do to-go cocktails at all, or is it?
We have not. It's on the horizon potentially for this week, but being an alcohol-controlled state, our hands are a little bit more tied as to what we can do. So I did some fresh mixers to go during the summer, which was really fun, but I was kind of holding out to be able to do the full cocktail experience.
Gotcha. I guess that makes sense because our friends over in Oregon are also having the same issue of not being able to do the to-go stuff.
Yeah.
Cool things. Awesome. Well, so this group was assembled because they made us some marvelous espresso cocktails. And I feel like no better person to start off and tell us what they did is Amanda, since they are the genius behind all the coffee knowledge that they presented to us with Southern so many months ago.
Oh my gosh. So, yeah, it was kind of keeping with the fall special. Oh my gosh, that photo looks so good.
Right?
So there was two things about the brief I thought were really interesting. One was talking about waste and waste management. And something I was thinking about with the espresso martini is how, you can make them with cold brew and it's good, but when you want to get that big, beautiful head on it, the espresso.
Always good to have water. Look at that. Hydrating, ready to go.
So that thanks, Mary. The espresso really helps kind of get that big, beautiful head on it. So having either fresh or slightly rusted espresso was great. But another piece of waste reduction I've noticed, because I worked in coffee for over a decade. And still, I mean, I'm back to being a barista again with lockdown because their cafes have been able to stay a little more open than bars and a little more consistently. Is that pastries are a huge piece of the puzzle for coffee waste. So with the garnish on that, with the grated cookie crumbs, it was really cool because it adds a little bit of texture, but also like kind of addresses like some cafe waste in a really cool and like holistic way. And also then it's kind of a modular drink where you can take like, this one is gingerbread, allspice jam, but like, you know, you could also do like an almond cookie and an amaretto for a flavoring. Like there's a lot of fun stuff. So yeah, that was my idea. And it was beautiful, like totally a nice, you know, like slate to kind of make all those flavors really sing. So
into that.
That's so yummy.
Papa Tate, what'd you put together for us?
So I went a little bit of the kind of simplistic, straightforward route. The thought behind mine was like, it's Friday night, you maybe had a few drinks and invited friends over for cocktails the next day. And so you've got to make like 1, maybe 2 stops Saturday morning and get everything figured out, but you want to do it in a way that showcases really fantastic local products. I think, you know, letting the ingredients speak for themselves can sound kind of trite, but that's one of the beautiful things about espresso martinis is like good coffee and good sweetener can really ring through, and you can also keep it straightforward. So I went with Counterculture Coffee out of Durham, North Carolina, made a cold brew concentrate with their Big Trouble. Citrus forward, a little bit nutty, and then made a honey syrup with orange blossom honey from Samantha Fox, who I co-presented with, amazing human, and of course Kettle One, and then shook that up, expressed some lemon over the top, and then just a little lavender oil expressed over the stem of the glass, and have put it to practice on friends for kind of impromptu cocktail nights more than once since we had a show.
Nice.
I'm always pro the lemon expression at the top too. Love
that. With the with beautiful honey and beautiful coffee, like finding like a little citrus and a little floral to highlight with the garnish was really fun.
And which type of honey did you get from Samantha?
It was an orange flower blossom honey.
Okay.
She sent me a bunch of really fun ones to play around with, but I was trying to think about like if you can't make it out to the market that morning and you've got to stop by local co-op or hopefully Whole Foods, not one of the biggest boxes of stores, like what's an anchor flavor that you can replicate even if you aren't able to get this exact honey.
Nice. Way to think about everybody else. And Akinde, what'd you do?
Okay, so the idea behind mine was working in a place where I don't have actual espresso. So I got espresso from a local coffee shop and then asked them to save the grounds for me. So they gave me the grounds. I don't know if you can notice I have a Kettle One that's infused with the spent grounds. And then, like I said, since I don't have espresso at work, we have regular coffee. For this purpose, like I made cold brew at home and put a couple ounces of that, made a syrup with pastry from that same shop, which the idea behind that is to use pastries that they wouldn't be able to sell anymore and make just basically puree that with simple syrup and a Vitamix. And so the flavors can change depending on what the seasonal pastries are that they have. Last time they had a pumpkin spice croissant. So it was basically a pumpkin spice espresso. I made another one today, actually.
Oh, yeah.
There it is. And this one is with a cheesecake with cranberry. So it just keeps it super seasonal. And, you know, obviously you got to be conscious of the flavors and what can go well with coffee. But this one turned out pretty well, too.
That is fantastic. Oh, I love your use of the, partnering with your local shop to be able to get their spent grounds and their spent pastries is so smart. Your next step is to go making your pastry orgeat because that's one of my favorite things to do is pastries and better stay. Yes, I love making orgeat out of things that you shouldn't make orgeat out of.
Yeah.
That is definitely one of them. Is
Pretty fun.
That's amazing.
That is so fun.
And last but certainly not least, Fanny made a rendition as well. Do you want to tell us about that?
So my rendition is it's called a stoutini. I love drinking stouts, but I can never finish it. So with the leftover stout, I made a syrup, and it's a coffee stout that I was using at this time, and it's a Mexican coffee stout. I love all things Mexican. Just the flavors are there, and like a lot of vanilla, cinnamon. So I thought it'd be great to put it in my martini or my espresso martini. I also added some creme de cacao. I use cold brew, but you could also use espresso if you'd like. And I usually use Kettle One because that's the only vodka that I really have in my house.
Yep.
Shake it up. You could either drink it warm or you could drink it cold, honestly. I usually love a good rim job. So my rim job there, I like using edible gold glitter and crushed candy canes and dehydrated coffee grounds. So to make it more festive and beautiful and delicious. So there you go.
I love that. That is so good. Love the use of the stout. Also, can we shout out Nick Hogan, the photographer, who has re-envisioned all of our creations into the most majestic and beautiful presentations. So
They look so good.
yes, yeah, I definitely would not have been able to make mine look that good at all. Any of the drinks. I hate to have to move everybody along, but we have more marvelous humans to get in here. Amanda, Beau, Akinde, thank you so much for being here with us again. We really love you. We love your creations. Have a wonderful rest of your week. Have a happy new year and stay marvelous.
Thanks, y'all. It's been such a
Thank
pleasure.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
There's
All right.
so many humans I want to spend so much more time with, and we have to just
So many, like we've been going through this, state of, isolation for so long. And it's just like so lovely to have these marvelous Mondays to be able to see everybody's lovely faces, and God bless Kettle One.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Our next two guests are super heavy hitters. I would say it's the queen of DC and queen of Chicago are joining us right now. We have AJ Johnson and Kisira Hill coming to us, joining in.
Join us. Yeah.
Hey, y'all. These magical people together and separate. I believe AJ has done so many presentations at this point in time for Kettle, but we did get to join forces for creating the full outreach business plan to tackle things and do good work in your communities. So welcome, friends. It's great to have you back.
Happy to be here.
Yay.
Yeah.
Welcome.
How's everything been going since we last spoke to you? AJ, how's everything with all the community outreach?
Yes.
When you're not, I don't know when you actually sleep, so.
Good question. Yeah, I think I went to bed at probably 9 this morning. I'm actually getting ready for Christmas, so work is going well. I'm starting this week to hang out with the family, so it was kind of just like the push to get all of the Christmas stuff out. Back to Black's been doing really, really well. We're doing a new cocktail drop over in Silver Spring, and we've done some virtual brunches, so we're figuring out how we can expand our concept there. And D&B Black Restaurant Week has also, I think, transpired since we were on our last call, and this year was fantastic. I mean, we had over 100 restaurant partners this time. It was insane. We reached all the way out to Richmond, and we had restaurants in Baltimore, and a lot of different programming. And we raised some money as well for that too. So this is great. Yeah.
That's cool. Is that all going to be continuing just as strong in 2021?
Most definitely. We have a lot of programs lined up for 2021 for Back to Black. Most definitely. Serenata, we are grinding. I mean, we never really stopped. So we are just coming up with new and fun ways. We just got the executive order to shut down indoor dining starting the 23rd. that's going to make it a little weird. But it sounds like everything should be reopening by inauguration. So we'll see how that works out. But yeah, we're heavy, hard grind mode all day long.
Are you guys gonna be able to get a chance to like do a little rest time after the shutdown?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is sort of what that time is for. I'm effectively not going to be in the building for 2 weeks, so everything I'm going to be doing is virtual. But that doesn't mean that the program stop, right? We've got a lot of different parts and a lot of different pieces working on all of my initiatives. So you know, as long as there's a Zoom platform and and we can all talk, things will get done.
Right on.
That's incredible. Kisira, how have you been doing?
I've been doing good. You know, I'm just out here. Since we last talked, I started working with Jess at Medina with some social media stuff, some brand development stuff. Same deal. You already know, Amie, what's going on, like connecting with new friends. Yep. And all of my beverage people, all of my hospitality people, just continuing to be really creative and innovative with the content that they're making and the content, and, you know, reaching out to me and being like, how do we collab? How do we create? You know, how do I do this? Like, how do I get it together? And I'm just here for it. So I've just been working with folks local and folks far, you know, in our industry and a little bit, you know, outside of our industry, just making graphics, doing social media stuff, creating content, supporting folks to do Zoom discussions, and, you know, giving my advice where I can give it, really.
Love that. Keeping it cute as per usual. Always keep it
Thank you.
Yeah.
I learned how to Pinterest after we talked the last time, and it's an experience. I'll tell you that much.
It's a rabbit hole.
So many notifications. So many notifications.
Yes.
Holy.
Yes.
What does 2021 look like for you? Are you taking on any big projects? Are you continuing just with the steady grind, or what are you excited about?
I think 2021 really looks like, for me, really honing in on being a freelance business person and working for myself and having that privilege, but taking that and still collaborating with the people that I love in the industry and new folks. So just kind of working, you know, work on yourself, come correct, working on my business strategy, et cetera, and really being able to, again, come correct in 2021 for all the collaborations. I love, you know, Ian Griffiths. I'm working with him on some stuff, you know, more industry folks. So, you know, please hustle responsibly at support staff, running some campaigns, supporting, you know, mental health initiatives in our industry, support and mutual aid initiatives in our industry, whether it be nonprofits or small businesses or whatever, making sure that when I do come correct with my business, I can offer folks to those that are really getting that work done on the ground.
I love that. I also love seeing that there's a lot of small businesses that you're able to work with as well. I think locally, Juanita's Bebidas.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I love Shelly. I just made her logo. Her milk punches are delicious.
Yes.
I'm obsessed with her, and her drinks are bomb. And being able to create that cute little denture kind of vintage tattoo looking logo was a hoot.
Yeah. I love it. Love it. I also love that you two, along with Fanny, did a marvelous martini. So would you all like to talk about your inspirations behind those?
AJ, you want to hit that?
Yeah, I can go first. That's cool. So my cocktail was called Clairvoyance. And it is a very, again, you can see it's translucent, right? The idea obviously was to do a play on a martini, and being that I am a whiskey girl, it took a while for me to really understand the subtleties between, you know, vodka by itself and a dry martini and a 50-50 martini, and really sort of figuring out what those flavors meant to me and how they can be enjoyed. And now, you know, in all of my plus 30 gloriousness, my guilty pleasure is having martinis on Mondays. So this was like spoke to me right from the get. But I mean, being behind a bar and running programs for the past 12 years, it has been always a struggle to sort of figure out, what am I going to do on that Sunday night? And this was pre-COVID. Even a lot of the restaurants that I worked in closed on Mondays and Tuesdays, right? They were a little bit more higher end, so it was less of the 7-day-a-week thing. And those white wines that, you know, you would put a cork in, or you sort of try to pump the air out of and cross your fingers that they're ready to go for service at 5 o'clock, or the herbs and the mint that you're picking and fresh and you leave it on your bar, and then what do you do for the next 2 days? You can try to reshock them, you can try to refrigerate them, but they don't necessarily hold. And so what I ended up starting to do a few years back was actually take the idea of aromatizing wine that was already open with fresh herbs that I was using for my cocktails, right? So any of the garnishes that I was using, I ended up then putting it into any of the open wine that I was doing. And ones that worked, I found that worked really, really well, were wines that had the higher, they had a higher brix content, a higher sugar content, right? So your Rieslings, your Muscats, they actually work really, really well. Also, it goes kind of hand in hand that those don't actually sell as well as a Sauvignon Blanc or a Chardonnay, right? So you do end up having more of that on hand, and they are open for longer. And so the idea here was just really taking lavender, rosemary, things like that, and infusing that into my Muscat, adding just a little bit of sugar back to it, because obviously it will cook off as it goes sort of on the stove, and then sort of creating your own version of a martini, right? You use that white wine instead of using a vermouth, and you can create your own flavors. And I know, like, you know, people can add like essential oils and things like that to their cocktails, and all that stuff is super, super fun. This is just a different way that you can do that while still like keeping your profit margin intact, because throwing out, you know, 0.75 of a bottle of white wine does not bode well when it comes to P&Ls at the end of the month. But also you can just start to reuse and craft out your own type of flavorings for things that aren't traditionally like the most generally, I guess, openly palatable, right? Like sometimes martinis are iffy with a lot of people. And so this is a way to create your own flavors with that.
Nice.
Kisira, what did you do?
Love taking my social media and graphic designer hat off and putting my bartender hat on.
Yeah.
One of the first cocktails that I learned how to make very well and very well explained from the person training me was a super dry, kind of super cold martini. So really a great opportunity to kind of circle back to the OG lesson of my early bartending days. But we've got a cocktail that is very pine fresh. That's kind of what I'm going for here. I love a good Chicago winter. I used to work at an oyster bar, and so I've always wanted to kind of create a either rosemary or pine or Genepi or dill kind of forward martini, something that's dry that really goes really well with some oysters, maybe some caviar. You know what I'm saying? People in Chicago are about it.
Yes. People in New York too. People in New York.
Yes. So you already know. So this cocktail is kind of inspired by that space in Chicago. So I've got some dry vermouth in there and some Genepi liqueur. Genepi liqueur is one of my favorites, and I think it really complements with some of those orange oil, kind of orange citrus oils coming from the peel and the rosemary that's stirred along in the cocktail. So Genepi, for those that don't know, it's just adjacent to absinthe, but because it's a liqueur, it sometimes is drank as an aperitif with some ice or just neat, because it's got that sugar content in it. But I am an absolute absinthe. Merry Christmas. So anywhere that I can put absinthe, I'm going to put it. And in this marvelous martini, I had an opportunity to put some Genepi liqueur in there, really bringing that herbaceous element of a martini forward. I love a good herbaceous one. If I would have had a little bit more variety in there, I probably would have infused some of that rosemary sprig that it's stirred with inside of that vodka and kind of bring another element or another layer to it. But all in all, this is an ice cold herbaceous martini that if you got some oysters or some caviar with you, pop off.
Want that.
The way to do it.
Yeah.
And speaking of one of your support staff people, Moni Bunny taught me that if you're living in Chicago, you bottle up your martini and put it on your deck or outside, and it stays perfect temperature for whenever you want it. And I must thank her for that thing, because the Chicago martini, quite
Yes.
quite.
Yep.
All right, Fanny, what did you do? Tell us about your.
I love martinis, but also for me, martinis have to be either like a special occasion or like something that you really, really want to drink, because it'll get you there. You can make it like 50-50. I love all of it. Dirty, slightly dirty, whatever. The martini that I love is slightly dirty and 50-50, and I call it Kettle One. Aren't you glad it's a little dirty 50-50 teeny? It's got vermouth. It's got dry vermouth, sherry, and Kettle One vodka. I love drinking them all separately, but in a martini, I love them all together as well. And like you said earlier, Amy, about infusing things with tea and like certain things, I infuse my dry vermouth with orange spice tea just because 'tis the season. It's got a little bit of Manzanilla sherry, nice ounce and a half ounce of Kettle One vodka, and a teaspoon of olive brine. Stir it until it's chilled. Some people like to shake it. I don't normally shake my martinis, but I've had like friends that want me to shake it because they just want it that cold.
Yeah.
And I don't know. They kind of taste the same, but I love to eat something along with my martinis. I stir mine with an olive, and also I agree with you, Kisira. I love oysters with my martinis. So there you go.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
I think that's definitely like a theme like throughout this sort of martini thing, right? Like this sort of like infusion that I've put in the clairvoyance. Like I literally did, I worked at an oyster bar and did little shots of these different aromatized sort of situations. And it was a perfect accoutrement. Especially the dill, Kisira, like you said, dill. Yeah. Boom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Such a great opportunity when you're making a martini with Kettle One, because you're starting with such a great base that you can really infuse all of those flavors and have a fun time kind of having an effervescent moment or herbal moment, you know what I mean? And it can come off really clean and delicious. And there's so many ways to play, right? But nice and crisp, whether it be a little bit more sweeter or that shaken kind of dirtier end.
Yep.
It's all great. Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Love it.
Do you shake your dirty martinis, or do you still stir it?
I stir it.
Such a,
I was trained by Toby Maloney, so there is no way that I am ever going to get a martini and put it in a shaker and not just hear Toby coming from somewhere around me. Like, what's going on? What's going on there?
Yeah. I think it was like 6 years ago, AJ, you probably know, Dane Nakamura screamed at me and said, only a monster would shake a martini, when I came from a dive bar in which I shook a Manhattan. I'm not gonna lie.
Same.
we all grew up in a place where we learn. And so I will never shake a martini again, because I don't want to hear that echoing in my brain.
Yeah. If somebody asks for it, like I get it if somebody asks for it, but the way that I train and the way that I was taught is always stir it no matter what. Like if it takes more stirring, if it takes more dilution in that way, then just and I love my boys, I love myself some Trevor Fry, but he was like, look, just leave the water in there.
Yeah.
Leave the water there, let it melt, right? And then you continue with your 30 to 35 rotations or however many. I mean, everybody has their own method, but there's a way to still achieve that dilution, I feel. I think one of the most beautiful things about the martini is that you do want to taste those layers. Once you start breaking it up in the shaker, then everything comes together, and you don't really get the essence of like the half ounce of this and the quarter ounce of this and like the beautiful like Kettle One vodka laid on top. So it's very, I think there's a method to that. I will never shake it unless somebody like specifically says, no, just vodka in the thing and shake it.
Yeah.
That is the only way I'll ever do that.
Yeah, the layering is probably the best explanation that I've heard. So I'll use that in the future if I have to explain myself to somebody as to why. I'm stirring it.
Exactly.
All right, friends. AJ, Kisira, thank you so much for being with us here today. We have one more round of humans to bring on. You all have a great Christmas holiday, wonderful New Year. It's great to see your faces.
You too, love.
Bye-bye.
Bye, ladies.
Okay. Last, but certainly not least, we have Tanya Clark, Jess Weinstein, and Katie Renshaw coming in.
Come in hot.
Hi, friends.
Yeah.
Hi.
All right. So Jess has been on a bunch of times for multiple different things because she's a business brain for the bar and tells us everything we need to know of how to make sure that we are, flowing, making money, and keeping things awesome. Katie styled every cocktail for us in the best way possible. I still don't know how to take a picture of a cocktail, but I promise I'm trying. And Tanya told us everything about essential oils, how to use them, what they're good for, kept us balanced with everything she was talking about. How are you all doing today?
Good.
Good.
Thank you.
Well, thank you all for being here. We're so happy to see your faces again. We want to be able to check in and see how you all have been doing since we last talked to you. And since it's been the longest, I think, since we've seen Katie. Katie, how are you?
I'm good. I actually think it's so funny how you brought up the cocktail photographs because I was thinking back to my class, which feels like so long ago, and I've gotten so much better since then.
Yes! So
I feel like it would be better if I taught the class now.
We know that we can see all of our previous Marvelous Mondays on either Facebook or YouTube, so I will go back and watch Katie's and try to remember how to do it the right way. And Jess, how have you been?
I'm all right. I'm actually so energized to have watched the last segment and get to see Kisira, who we're working on some stuff together, and AJ, and hear about martinis, which obviously is the next thing I'm going to have as soon as this is over. I'm that was too much talking about it without me actually having one. So
yeah, no, that's way too many drinks we've talked about for me to not have one as soon as we're done with this programming. So, but I'm super glad that you are getting to work with Kisira, and AJ, of course, is your neighbor. So very dope that you have that pocket of awesomeness in your own town. Tanya, keeping things healthy, keeping everything well, aromatized and everything.
All of that good stuff. Yeah, just chugging along. I've done a few events since the last time, virtually, of course, with some people. So yeah, it's been really, really good. Thank you.
Very good. Well, we definitely want to be able to talk about your cocktails, but does anybody have any big plans or exciting things in the works for 2021 that they want to chat about? If you want to keep it under wraps, we can also do that. It's fine. But
nothing really.
2020, step 1, step 3, profit, step 2, we never know. It's probably the underpants knows, but that's okay. Sorry, I will stop with my South Park references. Yes. So why don't we talk then about this group is put together because they all did a wonderful kettle soda rendition. So why don't we have Tanya, do you want to talk about your kettle soda inspiration rendition and everything first?
I would love to. So, yeah. So the kettle soda that I put together, I wanted it to be vibrant and in the holiday spirit. And so I used 1.5 ounces of the wonderful Kettle One vodka, 6 ounces of soda water, and then I finely chopped some mint and used a couple of tablespoons of fresh pomegranate that I actually got all these ingredients from the farmer's market that's a few blocks away from me. So try to locally source all of these beautiful garnishes. And I wanted to use all of the fruit or, all of the herb. And so chopping up that mint and then garnishing it beautifully in a bouquet. And then I used the rind of the pomegranate and carved a leaf. So that little leaf is actually the rind of the pomegranate.
Oh, cool.
Amazing.
Yeah. And so again, with the colors, I wanted it to be kind of festive for the holidays, and really just make it like light and refreshing with the mint. And then you get like a little like extra with the pomegranate seeds while you're sipping on your Kettle One. So yeah, it was really fun to create. I mean, I really wanted to use all of the pomegranate. I'm like, gosh, how can I use like the skin of this? Like, what can I do? And so I was just like playing around with the skin, and I'm like, oh, maybe I'll try a leaf. Like, I am not like very creative, but I'm like, oh, let me just try, let me try a leaf. And I tried all these different things, and the leaf actually came out really beautifully, especially with the bouquet of mint. So it was a creative process, and it was a lot of fun creating this vodka soda.
Nice.
That's so awesome. Let's go with Jess next.
Hello.
Hello.
Now I already know what's going to happen, which is I'm going to really need a vodka soda right now. There's like a cycle that I'm rapidly going through right now. The bar is closed, so don't worry. I'll take care of that. So I actually really love this challenge to play around with a classic like vodka soda structure. For me, when I drink a vodka soda, I kind of treat it like a palate cleanser, right? So I'm looking for something that is light, mineral driven. I really taste the vodka. So I really wanted to come from that space. At the same time, I am super lucky that I work in a bar where we have a very creative kitchen that has a lot of cool projects going on, including a project which was exploring food from Upper Mesopotamia, particularly Assyrian food. So there's some really dope pickles called torishaya pickles that are like curry, cinnamon, slight hint of spice, but like garlic forward. So I love to go shopping in the walk-in for cocktail creation. It's always really fun, I think, to start a cocktail concept and development from the very beginning on your own and to mold that way. But it's also really cool to kind of create within your constraints and say, like, what's in front of me? What is the kitchen already using? What flavors are already presented in my menu? So I actually did a pretty straightforward soda vodka ratio, but then modified with a little bit of this pickle juice. That's where the very unique color is coming off a little iridescent in this photo. It's definitely not your everyday drink color. And then tons of dill. Have those carrots as a snack and drink combo for me is always a winner. So that's my kettle pickle soda.
That looks so herbaceously delicious.
Yeah, all the savoriness.
Oh my God, it's so yummy. All right, Katie, how about you? Tell us about yours.
Maybe we're having a little connectivity issue there.
It looks amazing.
Yeah,
it does.
Can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
Awesome. Sorry, I keep disconnecting for some reason, but so I love this challenge of playing with a very simple cocktail because it really shows you the power of garnish and the power of aroma. And so this is like one of my favorite things to do is to play with like a super aromatic garnish on a very simple.
Aromatic garnish on a simple cocktail. Yes. Love that.
Yes.
Are those apples in there or
apple slices?
We're trying to connect the dots. So
pear slices.
Pear
And
slices.
the flavors in Kettle One are probably my favorite to play with. It's nice, like black pepper.
I want to hear all of this right now. Okay, Katie, we got black pepper, pear. Keep going.
Oh no.
No. That looks like a torched
Rosemary.
Sprig. Yeah.
Yeah. Into that. Well, why don't we see if we can get Katie? Maybe she comes back into a patch of good service. Fanny, let's talk about your cocktail.
All right. Well, mine is pretty basic. It's a basic bitch cocktail. I mean, body soddies. Kettle One soda. I also use pomegranate seeds with it, but I because working at Starbucks, I love playing with ISI canisters, and I decided to make fizzy fruit. And you can pretty much use any kind of fruit. Just empty out your ISI bottle, fill it up with half of the fruit, and then put the ISI chargers in there and leave it overnight in the fridge. And fruit. I love that pop in my mouth whenever I eat one. So why not put it in my drink? Mine also has vodka soda, Kettle One vodka, and Fever Tree soda. Sometimes I use Topo Chico if I'm being a little cheeky. But this one, I use Fever Tree seltzer, and then I garnish with the rosemary sprig. And your idea of using the outside of the pomegranate is genius. I kind of want to also use the inside and put like honey in it, so it looks like a honeycomb.
Yeah,
you're giving me ideas, girl.
You gotta think outside the box, Fanny. You gotta think outside.
Yeah, and a kettle soda is absolutely delicious. So any little tweaks you can do to just keep on making it phenomenal is always fun. I also love, like, just like what Jess did, there are so many other people that leaned really heavy into the dill, which is a happy place for me because I love dill really, really entirely too much, but love that. And I'm bummed that Katie couldn't stay with us the entire time because she's kind of the queen of playing with your senses while having something even as simple and classic as a kettle soda. That would be why she probably won world class.
Yeah.
could potentially be a small
Really part of it. Yes,
all senses. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, but so I can't believe we just talked to 14 people at the same time throughout this entire programming. But Tanya, Jess, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Guys. Yeah.
Thank you. It was so good to see you all.
Likewise. You all have a great holiday. Have a very happy New Year.
Oh, Katie.
Oh, there she is.
Katie returns. Sort of.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
Katie, come back.
I went through I'm obviously in a car, as you can see right now, and we went through one section where I was at one bar right when you called me, and I was like, no. It was terrible timing.
That's A-okay. We were just talking about how you're pretty fantastic at playing with the senses and creating a really interesting experience with a drink, even with something that's as classic as a kettle soda. Something simple can be turned into something really elegant and a total experience when you play with your garnishes, with your scents, your everything. Did you want to tell us a little bit more about your drink?
Yeah, I like to really play with that, like the round vanilla notes and the black peppercorn notes. And to me, the two flavors that work really great with these, I mean, Jess and Tanya, you both did things with this as well, with fruit and herbs. Two really great flavors with Kettle One. I wanted a super seasonal, so I wanted to use a palm fruit, so I picked these adorable Pharrell pears, which are not only have this great, like, sweet honey pear aroma, but they are super cute and small. So when you slice them like horizontally, they make these really cute stackable slices you could use on the side of your glass to give you that nice aroma. And then I also smoked the rosemary to really play with that peppercorn finish on the Kettle One and bring some nice aromatic nuance to a very simple cocktail. And I think this would pair really nicely with, like, someone brought up, I think it was Jess who said about using a vodka soda as like a palate cleanser. So I think this is great for like charcuterie platter, like appetizers, like at a holiday party.
Oh yeah, into that. Awesome. Oh, super, super great. Again, thank you all so much for being here. Katie, Tanya, Jess. Thank you all for stopping by and telling us about your cocktails. You all have a wonderful holiday and a great new year. And I guess Fanny and I are going to take this show out for the final closing remarks, huh?
Bye, ladies. Thank you so much.
Bye. Thank
Bye, friends.
Bye. All right. Well, thank you, everyone, for taking the time out for joining us today. Thank you to all of our special guest stars today for participating and making everyone's Monday a little more marvelous. Thank you, Amy. Love you. Kettle One, another round, another rally, and Portland Cocktail Week. Want to see more Marvelous Monday classes like this one? Follow Portland Cocktail Week on Facebook. We have new classes on weekdays and an archive of past classes in the video tab here. For folks who aren't on Facebook, we are posting these videos on YouTube as well. We're also on Instagram, so you can find out what's coming up next there. Well, wow, that's a wrap, folks. Wishing you all a happy holidays and happy New Year.
Yeah.
To be back in 2021. We will miss all of you.
Yes. Happy Marvelousness, my friends. Happy New Year. Thank you, Fanny. You've been a wonderful co-host. This has been awesome to do with you over the last 6 months.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to meet you in person.
Same. We were only going to go through 2020 because of this Marvelous Mondays. And who knows, maybe 2021 we can tour all of, I don't know, US, the globe with Marvelous Mondays. Who knows?
Yeah, let's go get vaccinated and the world. All right, thank you all so much. Have a wonderful day. Goodbye.